Hey everybody. So I'm currently at Arogya in Nepal. And I hope that my audio is good. I feel like I have to shout a little bit because I'm a little further away from the phone. But I'm sitting on this beautiful patio and feeling very happy, very inspired, but also a little as if my thoughts are lost. And so I found myself wanting to read and take some time, not really wanting to make any moves, not wanting to go hiking or even outside of Kathmandu. Many people share this sentiment. They say, "Oh, don't stay in Kathmandu too long." And I say that Kathmandu is a very beautiful town to recuperate and to rest. I think that as visitors and as travelers, it's important to remember how we are visiting the country of Nepal, and as we visit Nepal, we must understand that we represent the countries that we come from. And for me personally, this means living a life where I can bring happiness to the world and bring happiness in my interactions with others. As a martial artist and as a fighter, I understand how very easily people can become intimidated or afraid. And as a martial artist, I've faced a lot of that within myself, literally in hand to hand combat. So I know how to approach someone very humbly and very gently in order to make sure that this person does not feel intimidated. And if they do, I don't take offense to this. I immediately don't take anything personally. I simply just understand that this person is trying to understand their interaction with me, and I try to stay as happy and as calm as possible, always making sure that I'm sending nothing but blessings their way and never ever trying to insult someone in order to prove a doctrine. That's a big important thing for me, that I have nothing here to teach other people. I no longer feel, and I used to feel this way when traveling, that I had to convince the world, convince other people that they were wrong somehow. And I realized that actually, in a certain way, that I was convincing myself that I was wrong, that I was convincing myself that I was right. And by convincing myself that I was right, I was separating myself from the world and the joy that I could experience. Because even if someone is being confrontational with me, or maybe they're trying to take advantage of me in some way, this does not define humanity. Umangu no mangu. This means in the South African philosophy of self harmony, I am because we are. So for me, when I meet someone, whether or not it immediately is a positive interaction or maybe there's some tension, I automatically see myself in this person and I show them love and compassion and kindness because I know that that is what will catalyze change further than if I were to try to fight them or try to convince them. So I'm reading this book right now called Lion of Speech, Selected Teachings of Kenshin Drangu Rinpoche. And I'm beginning to really appreciate my experience here because as I've been meeting Nepalis and people from everywhere, from Sinduli to Kathmandu to to Longtong, I've been getting to understand more personally the Buddhist philosophy of kindness and love and giving and happiness. These seem to be the roots of the culture within Buddhism. So even though I learned the prayers, even though I understood the philosophy, to see it being lived in a society, enlightening experience, and it is embodied by the people that live in Nepal. So, and that's not to say that there are not problems around the world, issues that we need to solve. Just now, I saw a trash collector, and the trash collector was a truck, and all of the people in the neighborhoods were actually bringing their trash to the trash collector. And this actually inspired me a lot because that shows me that the city is implementing trash waste management and that together we can make the progress that we need to see. We can stop corruption, we can stop gang violence, advantage taking of children, we can support education in children, as well as making sure that there are job opportunities for not only the youth, but for the older community as well. That these little things that we seem to want to judge or or label as developing. These issues are common in human society when there are structural 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 problems within society, hierarchies, economic class. That's why I think that the most important thing is to not judge and to simply approach life with an open mind and a strong heart. Change and progress are happening. We ourselves have to make sure that as individuals we are making the change as well. For me, that means sobriety. That means being a good example by not succumbing to commercial marketing of partying, the youth life, the nightlife. For me, that means educating myself, enjoying life, enjoying the small things, enjoying the fact that I can have a cup of tea in the morning and sit in the sun, draw and read. So with that, Earth Threads I did meet a group of people yesterday that actually happened to be at the Rainbow Gathering, which was really interesting because I didn't know about this gathering until I was in Nepal. I was just coming back from the Gosai Kunda trek, and I saw this YouTube video posted by this woman who was living on the land for almost a month. I was very inspired by this because at the same time, I knew that I was here for a reason and that there was no separation between me and my community. I do not feel like I'm being separated from the the earth community. Although I no longer partake in psychedelics, although I no longer partake in intoxicants, I find a lot of joy in knowing that there are people out there as individuals who are discovering themselves and growing. I personally do not condemn the self-exploratory process of taking psychedelics and partying, but at the same time, as my desires have evolved, I no longer wish to actually spend my time going to places like this. I love to be in the woods. I love to be in nature. I love to be among the culture. These are things that are true. I love to discover things about myself. But through mixed martial arts and through the masters in my life, yoga masters, literary masters, art masters, I've actually discovered that these things can be found from within, that they can be found within our own practices. And for that, I'm very grateful. For that, I'm so grateful. Because now I know that I have something to look forward to every single day. And when we find that our youth are struggling with drug addiction, when we find that we're struggling with intrinsic value, we can take joy and delight in the process of being able to discover those things within ourselves without having to feel despair or dismay that maybe we're maybe that we are losing. We go in ourselves, the deeper we can make connections with others. So this book that I'm reading right now, I really love this book, and I'm going to share it with you guys. All right, this is Lion of Speech, Taking Delight in the Dharma. So a little background story for me. When I first started becoming aware of the Dharma and meditation, I was actually about 5 years old. I met a group of Tibetan monks that lived in my neighborhood, and they were very kind to my brother and I. They gave us jade bracelets. They invited us into their home. They showed us the process of making sand mandalas in their living room. They were a young group of monks. I remember the house was always a little dark, and it smelled very, very deep of incense. They didn't always light the lights. They didn't always have the lights on. Maybe it was just a way of conserving energy, but something about being in their home, now that I remember it, was very peaceful and very relaxing. A deep settling settled into my mind and into my heart, the influence. I hope that you can hear my audio, even though there's a lot of distraction and I'm not using a microphone except for the one on my phone. And these monks would walk up and down the road that entered our neighborhood. I lived on Ascot Court in Atlanta, Georgia, and we were one of the first houses that you saw when you entered the neighborhood going down the hill into the neighborhood. So these monks would walk up this hill all the time with gracefulness. They were always so graceful, very majestic, very calm, very much like in Nepal. They were probably from Nepal. They were Tibetan, but they were most likely born in Nepal because their age group was between 20, 25, 18 to 25. And as I began to build a relationship with them while they were walking either to the temple in their saffron robes or in their basketball shorts playing basketball, I would always run up to them and give them this big smile, and they'd always smile back at me. And this, of course, communicated to me friendship and kindness. Something about the world that I wanted to pursue. I began to do my reports on Tibet, my history reports, social reports. If I had to choose a country, I chose Tibet, and I loved the uniqueness of this. And that's when I began to understand the occupation of Tibet of the Chinese occupation in Tibet. And I had a lot of sympathy for this. I felt the social injustice of this. So I wanted to understand this further. And I love studying about the tigers, and I became very interested in the philosophy in the East. And I realized that this was a great movement as the East was coming west and the West had gone east. And then a lot of who I was shaped by this. I wanted to shave my hair, for instance, but I knew back already then that I had an attachment to the concept of, long hair and beauty and being a girl and stuff like that. So something subconsciously, something very consciously aware of itself told me that I would shave my hair in 20 years, and that's what I did. I was deep in meditation at the Hindu mandir, and this weight lifted off my shoulders, and I was ready. I was ready to embark on that journey. So I did. I shaved all of my hair and continued meditating, detaching slowly, little by little, from the concepts of these material aspects of beauty. And what was so funny was that it was not that I let them go, it's that I actually began to understand them and have a deeper appreciation for them, which is why, of course, I let my hair grow back. And it was so funny, just before I actually embarked on this journey during COVID, I happened to walk into a Tibetan meditation center in Houston in Bel Air, Texas, during the New Year celebration. My car was in the shop. I was getting my tires done. And at this point, I'm battling with things like depression, social isolation, things like that. I'm also at this time dealing with grief, as it had only been about 2 years since my partner passed away. And I went to McDonald's, or I was walking to McDonald's to get French fries. And I was vegetarian at the time. And I knew I shouldn't get the French fries. I knew I should just refrain from eating altogether if I was just going to go get French fries. And then on the way there, I saw a Tibetan meditation center, and I used it as a distraction. I said, okay, go see what this building is, even if it's closed, just go see what it is. And maybe you'll save some time and you'll choose not to go get those French fries. So I walk into the Tibetan meditation center, and lo and behold, they're open in December of COVID. And I learned that night they were actually celebrating the New Year. I think it was either in January or I think it was in January. It had to have been. they were celebrating the Lunar New Year. And it was so amazing. There was a group of high schoolers, there was a group of monks that lived there, nuns, devotees, meditators, and with open arms. And the Rinpoche was there. Gyatso, Guru Rinpoche Gyatso. And it just hit me that all of my stuff was is lost. My mom decided to donate all of my things while I was world traveling, and including the things that she gave away. And so as she sold the apartment, no way of contacting him, but I know his name, Gyatsen Rinpoche. And this makes me very sad, but I'm going to, of course, lead my life with love and forgiveness. And he was teaching about bodhisattvism, and we were reading the prayers, and I was able to read along with them because I had already Om Mani Padme Hum. This is a prayer in the morning, and the Guru Rinpoche prayer is said at night. Om Aham Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum. And I know a longer one too, which helps me understand the syllables. If you don't mind me sharing them, it is Om Benzar Sato Samaya Manupalaya Benzar Sato Tinopa Tista Tredo Mebawa Sato Kayo Mebawa Supo Kayo Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Miprayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsame Chitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Benzama Me Mutse Benze Bawa Mahasamaya Satoha Om. So these prayers allowed me to be able to learn the syllables within Buddhist mantra. So I was reading along with the Guru Rinpoche and the group. I was able to kind of keep along, and this made me feel very connected to Buddhism and Bodhisattvism. And I had hoped that I could make a connection with the Guru Rinpoche, but this man was very deeply detached from the material world, and I could tell this, which is why I respected him humbly and showed him great reverence. And a lot of things would awaken in me through yoga and through the understanding of Bodhisattvism without even being taught, but as though knowing them. Because it was not about proving what I know, but embracing the kindness and compassion of being taught. And so I answered my question, but I did not ask what was truly in my heart. And so as he was leaving the door, I walked up to him, and he's surrounded by the nuns and the monks. And I was very, very humble. I bowed my head deeply because I knew that it was insulting for me to approach him, but I knew his kindness and compassion would allow him to answer me as he was walking out the door. ISKCON Temple, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, as I also spent a lot of time studying Sanskrit with them in the morning, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in the evenings and in the mornings. I knew that he would have an awareness of the whereabouts of these young monks, most likely from Nepal, and why they were in Atlanta 20 years ago. And this is what I asked him. I said, Guru Rinpoche, why were these young monks in Atlanta 20 years ago? And it was so beautiful. He said the one word, Emory. And I scraped my brain and I said, yes, sir, Emory University? And he said they were students of biology. So these young monks from Nepal, Tibetan Buddhists, were studying at Emory University. And I hope one day I can connect with them and find them again and smile at them the way they smiled at me. And this is the same night of the year of the rat, which is actually the year I was born. And I really appreciated the Guru Rinpoche showing me so much compassion. To find myself here in Nepal at 27 years old, and I get to learn about the way of life personally. So I want to share with you a little bit about what I'm reading and how much comfort it gave me, how much relief, how much happiness, because it seems to all tie into what I'm learning here in Nepal. Happiness is a way of life here in Nepal, as it is for all of us. This journey, finding what this joy and happiness is within ourselves, fighting, battling through the suffering, battling through the depression, battling through the addiction. Tonight, whom I'm hoping to go see today, he's struggling with a severe drug addiction here in Kathmandu. A big part of me being here was realizing that the soul can become very lost here in Kathmandu. Anywhere you go in the world, drugs, in the cycle of suffering, of life and death. Okay. So I'm going to be able to see whether or not the whole live stream was cut. Hello, one viewer. It's funny. My Wi-Fi cut out, but StreamYard didn't cut the live video. I even left the site, the browser, in order to check on YouTube, and it just had the blank yellow screen. So if you're with me right now, there's like a whole 30 minutes before that that I hope wasn't lost, where I was explaining my relationship with Buddhism and how I entered into this understanding of the Dharma, and how I began to learn about it through philosophy, through reading documents and reading papers and everything, and reading about the history. But now I'm actually beginning to see what it looks like implemented into society here in Nepal. So this is a beautiful experience. I've been coloring and like drinking tea while I was waiting to figure out the whole like technical issues thing. Really awkward because there's somebody on the balcony watching me do this, but that's okay. As we would say, tikcha. Definitely, when you're traveling in another country, and before I go into reading, I'm just gonna color a little bit and talk because I just want to share my thoughts as well. But when you're traveling in another country, sensitivity is not the answer. Actually, being sensitive to yourself is important, but trying to show others compassion and also being smart, understanding that people will try to take advantage of you. There is a lack of boundaries and respect in many ways, but being comfortable with yourself and not allowing yourself to get angry. This is the most important thing. This is what I'm understanding that Buddhism is. Buddhism is not allowing the circumstances of this life, of people being asleep, to harm you or to take away your happiness. And the thing is, we understand what happiness is by understanding, for instance, I think I'm not even sure if this person is watching me. Like, it's so weird. I'm pretty sure he's watching me. Yeah, I know for sure he's watching me. But, like, you just have to be okay with it because you have people that believe life and see life in their own way. And we cannot change that. We cannot control other people. But what we can do, as Epictetus says in the Enchiridion, he says, we can control what is our own, not what is of the other. I cannot control others, but I can relax. I can be happy, comfortable in myself, regardless of the pain and the trauma that is when your boundaries are violated. This is when forgiveness and compassion are the most healing things in the world. This is what Christ taught us. That healing and compassion, not only for others, but for ourselves, is where the healing and growth comes from. This is where we can recognize our sins and stop causing harm to others. The Lord is all perfect. God is all good. It says in Numbers 23, I think. Can't remember the number. God is not a human being that he should lie, not a human being that he should change his mind. Does he not speak and then act? Does he not promise and then fulfill? Our God is perfect. He hears our prayers. He sees our hearts, and he helps us on the way. He guides us. This is why I have peace, why I am happy. I am happy because I know that God loves me and that God is there for me. I'm aware of God in me and how I am in him. Happiness is not controlled by others. When I know that I am not suffering my karma, I know that God is truly in control of all of this. That my purpose is so much higher than I could ever put into words. that I could ever fully understand in this lifetime. Then, although I've suffered, although I've lost, I do not lose sight of what is the most important. Dharma. So I'm just coloring right now. And I'm not even really, like, I'll show you guys my notepad. But really, I'm just coloring these little, like, things I got from Snapchat when I got my card. So I, like, tore it up. And I'm going to make a small little collage out of these little cartoons and stuff. Good morning. Jay! Can I give you a hug? That's one of my new friends. Who's opened my eyes once again to love and friendship and family. He's like speaking to Rumi. It's amazing. It's like listening to Hafiz talk about life. It's amazing. Okay, really quickly. Check it out for all my Krishna lovers. When I was in Guatemala a few months ago, I drew baby Krishna. I painted him with watercolor. Look at his bangles. Look how cute he is. Okay, enough. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This is what I'm working on right now. Obviously, I love milk tea. And this is what I painted. First, inspired by the convergence of Saturn and Jupiter, and then by the book, The Dharma Bums. So I'm going to come back to coloring in a little bit, but it probably won't be with you guys because the live video is getting to be about 45 minutes. As of right now, I'm perfectly happy waiting and being in Nepal. I probably have to wait a little bit longer before I go back to Longtong to go hiking because I spent I did spend a lot of money yesterday buying gifts, and I got this really cool sweater that I love. And it's like hand knit made out of wool. I'm beginning to understand selling and markets here, so I'm really comfortable now with buying and making purchases. But I have to understand that also money is very, very limited for me. But like, I'm at this beautiful hostel now, all these beautiful paintings everywhere. Like even contemplating getting like a tattoo and everything because I'm so inspired by the art here. And there's an artist on site who does tattoos, so like pray for me. The detachment of the body thing. I've never been one for like adding piercings. I always wanted them, but something about the Buddhist philosophy of consistency, it made it so that I did not get tattoos, dye my hair, anything like that. But let me share with you a little bit about what Kenshin Thrangu Rinpoche says about the Dharma. Line of speech, taking delight in the Dharma. Once the intelligent have thus embraced sincerely bodhicitta, they take delight in their resolve, so that it may continue to grow. This is what Shanti Deva says in The Way of the Bodhisattva. Shanti Deva literally means person of peace. He says that once the intelligent have thus embraced sincerely bodhicitta, understanding their mindset of serving others in this eternal wheel of life and death, they take delight in their resolve so that it may continue to grow. So no longer is it a numb acceptance of not feeling anything. There's actually joy in understanding this eternal existence that we live in serving others, awakening others. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere we're going. And there's something very scary about this at first. Like, wait a minute. Eternity? Like, for real? But then we kind of accept it. And then we can actually find great joy in everything that we do. Everything, every breath, every sip, every person. And so this is what Guru Kenshin Drangu Rinpoche says to this verse, he says, what he is saying is that when wise and intelligent people take the Bodhisattva vow, they need to develop it and make it get better and better. In order to do that, they uplift their minds and take joy and delight in it. In the same way, we need to develop and increase our own practice, and therefore we should also be joyous in our minds. We should think to ourselves, I am so fortunate to be able to practice. How fortunate am I? We should be uplifted, strong, and joyous about this. If we can do so, then in the future our meditation will get better and better and better. This is not a case of being joyous about something we should not be joyous about. We are extremely fortunate to be able to practice the Dharma, and that is why we should be excited about it. That is why we need to be joyful, why we need to be excited about our practice. If we are, then our practice will go better and better. That is why it is so wonderful and also so important to take delight in the Dharma. He says, recently I was in Vancouver. I gave an interview to a film crew. They asked many questions, but their main question was this. The Dharma is not spreading very well in the West. People are starting to practice, but they do not really understand it or know how to practice well. What can we do to improve this situation? But I see it completely differently. And I told the interviewer so. What I said was, I think the Dharma is spreading well in the West. People are doing great Dharma practice. I do not think that people are making mistakes in their practice. So I do not think there is any problem here. I actually think things are very good, that the practice is wonderful. These were not just words. I wasn't just saying this with my mouth. This is what I actually see and what I actually think. The Dharma is spreading very well in the West. And because the Dharma is spreading, a lot of people are becoming interested in the Dharma and gaining faith in it. Because they have such strong interest and faith, they are practicing the Dharma very well. Because they are practicing very well, their practice is developing. So I think the Dharma is spreading well. I'm being honest. I do not think that there's anything wrong or that there are any problems here. And so that is the response I gave. That is how I actually see it. In the old days, when teachers taught about how fortunate we are, they often taught about our precious human body. They taught how fortunate we are to have been born in a human body with 8 leisures and 10 freedoms. Not only that, the Sutra of Future Eon teaches that when the world first formed at the beginning of the eon, there was a huge ocean, in the middle of which 1,002 golden lotuses appeared. When the gods saw all the golden lotuses, they said, this will be a fortunate eon. 1,002 Buddhas will appear in this eon. This is the fortunate eon that we are in. It is the eon in which our teacher, the Shakyamuni Buddha, appeared in this world and appeared the wheel of Dharma and turned the wheel of Dharma. Not only that, the teachings that he gave continue to be passed down and practiced to this day. These are some of the reasons we are so very fortunate. For me, this also is the understanding of the sacrifice and the cross, that the Lord Jesus Christ himself was an enlightened being, and he died on the cross for our sins, for our awakening. This is understanding love. This is what the traditional teachings say, but it's not just something written in old teachings. If we think about our time, if we think about our situations, we are extremely fortunate to be able to enter the gates of the Dharma. Hafiz says, you are a royal fish trying to wear pants in a country as foreign as land. Now there is a problem worth discussion. See, your separation from God has ripened. Now fall like a golden fruit into my hands. Your wounds from craving love, they have served you. Now relinquish those medals. That courage will help this world. Love one you have yet to love. Stand near the friend. Why be a royal fish? Hafiz, what are you talking about? What has happened to your once brilliant mind? What I love about Sufism is that they use these beautiful and poetic, very elusive and evasive ways of opening the conscious mind to love and understanding and the divine within us. He also says, great poetry makes the universe tell a secret. I am really just the tambourine. Come, play me against your warm thigh. There's this beautiful understanding of the relationship between the yin and the yang in Sufism. Rumi talks a lot about it too. And he refers to this as the beloved. This love that we have within ourselves. It is the most beautiful thing in the world. And from this great suffering, we can understand love and compassion. We must have one to understand the other. They go hand in hand. And even if we meditate upon this for eternity, we can find joy in the things that we do, in the things that we say, in the pain, in the love, in all of the good, the bad, and the ugly. We can rejoice. So with that, I'm going to play you guys a little song. I have not used my StreamYard yet to play music, but I'm going to. For whatever reason, I feel like this is one of my best lives yet, except on Instagram. Here, check this out, guys. I need to create a banner so that you guys can just read it, but follow me on Instagram at Camila.a.wilson. That's CAMILA.a.WILSON. Camila.a.wilson. And I do a lot of live streams on YouTube specifically for music, for arts, for thoughts. And of course, find me on Instagram, on YouTube. It's at the Kamiji, the Kamiji, CAMIJI, where I do post a lot of reels and live videos as well from specifically StreamYard. And if you want to contact me personally, follow me on Facebook, Camila Alejandra Wilson. You can Google how to spell Alejandra. With that, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit of sound. I'm not very good yet at tuning my instrument without a tuner. Sometimes I lay under the moon and I thank God for my breath. And then I remember what's next. All my life I've been waiting for, praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, that we want no war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day. Sometimes when I'm feeling down, I don't ever let them see me frown, 'cause when negativity surrounds, I know someday it will all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, that we want no war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day, yeah. Oh, 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 my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, that we want no war, and our children will play. Maybe if we stop seeing the world as something that is fighting against us, maybe we can begin to see how everything in the universe is working for us. The mentality of unity versus the mentality of separation. We are all connected, all family. This is an interconnected experience of consciousness that we're having, and God is not separate from that. So with that, everybody, I love you. Peace, love, and namaste. I hope that you find joy in the things that you do and say. And the next time you come around this way, leave a comment. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram. I want to hear what everyone else has to say. Right now, these live videos are specifically just me, but I hope to actually have other people to talk to and to share thoughts with and everything. Goodbye.